It is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back to another episode of Around the 412. I am Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host Smitty. Go follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412. And if you're not watching the show there already, go check us out on YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the videos. It really helps us out a lot. And while you're there or listening over on the listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, where you find your podcast, you can check out the descriptions and you'll see the links to all of our great sponsors that you'll hear about throughout the show. This is the Pirates episode. We are 1 week into the MLB season officially, and thank you, fans. As you tweeted it out after the first game, the Pirates are 2-5, and I don't know if my expectations would have had them that much different than what we've seen so far. I think the biggest thing for me is that I just think the games have played out a little differently than I thought they would, namely because they're very similar to what they looked like last year.
Yeah, it just looked like a continuation of the 2024 season so far. Yeah, I'm already thinking that our win totals are going to be off from last week, just 1 week into this.
82 and 83? Yeah.
Yeah, well, so I think the thing for me in terms of you said you didn't you don't think or you're not sure how far off the prediction is so far based off the first week. The only reason I'll say for me it is because that first series was against the Marlins. I figured they would take 3 out of 4 from that. I mean, that's a team that very well might be the worst roster in baseball that beat the Pirates 3 out of 4 times. Like everybody talks about the White Sox, right? I think the Marlins have the better pitching, but I think like top to bottom, the hitters are worse on the Marlins than they are on the White Sox. So to lose 3 out of 4 in that series, especially the way they did, they got the starting pitching, which we felt like was going to be the strength of this team. I think what's so disappointing for me has been the bullpen, like more than anything else. I know the offensive struggles, and we can talk about those individually and collectively, but for me, the bullpen being a continuation, again, of what 2024 was, to the point where we're a week into this thing and we've already seen David Bednar get optioned. So, you know, your prediction for him being a disappointing player certainly looks like it's coming to fruition 1 week into this thing. But just in totality, Colin Holderman has continued his 2024 struggles as well. And I honestly, like, beyond those two, is there somebody else in the bullpen that's been like so bad that it's worth talking? I think just because it's like those two guys that are the high leverage guys that we've looked at in the 8th and 9th innings, primarily, you know, going back to last season, where it's been a struggle for them, and that hasn't figured itself out yet in 2025. So yeah, for me, that's been the disappointing part is Colin Holderman and David Bednar carrying over their 2024s.
Yeah, and I think that for the rest of the bullpen, it just kind of gets lumped with those two. Those are definitely the namestays for the big problems of the bullpen right now throughout the first week, especially because they've given up the bulk of the runs. And in those key situations, too, like David Bednar has attributed to 2 losses so far on the season whenever he's on the mound, which is uncharacteristic of him usually. But if we go back to last season, that's when you started to see that, like, kind of the chink in the armor a little bit of David Bednar, and it's been a continuation of that, it looks like. And so, yeah, like, while there's nobody else besides Holderman and Bednar that have really stuck out as being, like, very bad out of the bullpen, but the bullpen has just given up more runs than you would have liked them to at this point in the season, especially considering giving up what you do with the starters, too, because I feel like the starters overall have done a really good job. I know you had the Thomas Harrington debut a few nights ago where they kept him in there and he allowed 6 earned runs. But then besides that, I mean, you're looking at several 1-run, 2-run, even no run innings from some of these starters that you've gotten, and the bullpen just hasn't been able to get it done. And if you're going back to that Marlins series too, in those 4 games against that team, you were leading in a couple of those games that you lost as well. And the bullpen manages to come in and blow those leads. Now, obviously, you like to get in some insurance runs in some of these situations, and you're able to get an insurance run today as of speaking on Wednesday. the last game against the Rays where the Pirates won on Paul Skeen's second start of the season. You're able to get insurance runs. That's nice. So the bullpen, I can't say is the main or like the only problem that the Pirates have had so far this season. Obviously the offense has continued to have its struggles too, but that's why I say like this just feels like a continuation of 2024 to me. And I'm not surprised that it is, because you look at the offseason, you look at what really changed, and it wasn't all that different. They didn't really make the team overall a new team compared to what they ended 2024 with. So when you have the disappointing offseason that it does, I don't know why we really should have thought that it would be any different. I mean, obviously you expected to get the pitching from the starters, which you've gotten, and then everything else pretty much stayed the same. Obviously you don't want the struggles from the bullpen as early as you've gotten them, but especially offensively, I feel like nobody should be surprised about where the Pirates look offensively, because they did not address anything in free agency to improve the offense. And one of the main signings, if you want to call it that, Tommy Pham, who's played in every single game, which, I mean, this dude does not need to be an everyday bat in this lineup. I don't care if he's an outfielder that you're going to play. The 37-year-old just cannot hack it anymore. He's batting below 100. I mean, that's not even batting below his weight. That's batting below probably his kid's weight at this point. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous how he struggled and continues to go out there every single day. I just think it's ridiculous, but it shouldn't be that surprising when you look at the offseason that they had.
Yeah, and look at where he's been hitting in the order. It's been 1, 3, or 4, depending on the game. Like, they're hitting him in prime spots within the order too, and I think that speaks to the roster construction as a whole. I mean, you look at the one thing that he has done, he'll draw some walks, 3 walks already on the season. Oneil Cruz has drawn 6 walks. IKF and Endy Rodriguez have each drawn 4, and honestly, IKF probably like the one guy that I'd say right now offensively performing above where we would expect, and he's hitting in the 9 hole right now. And I'm not saying necessarily to change that, like, hey, don't fix what's working. So if that's working there, maybe it's everything else that kind of you need to find how to put it together, which I don't think that they have the talent for sure. I think at all levels this has been a failure. Like, obviously ownership, but there's no point in continuing to bitch about that, in my opinion, because it's not changing. So like, then we can go down to Ben Cherington. Well, we've seen, even with the financial constraints in place in the past, somebody, Neil Huntington, be able to put together a better roster than the one that Ben Cherington has been able to put together in 6 seasons so far. I don't know what the plan is. And honestly, like, the one thing I think we do have to give him credit for is being able to identify and develop pitching talent. But when you have a surplus there, I think you need to trade from it for the bats if you're not going to be able to find the bats. And this past offseason, to me, was so far, at least like since I've been a serious baseball fan and kind of understood the way that it worked, this past offseason was the biggest failure, in my opinion, of all Pirates offseasons, because of having the presence of Paul Skeens on the roster and going about it the way that they did. And then from Derek Shelton's case, this team is so fundamentally bad. Like, when you don't have the amount of talent as the other teams, you got to be able to do the little things better than everybody else. And really, other than being able to steal bases this year, they've gotten much more aggressive on the base paths. I don't know necessarily what to attribute that to, but that's the one area where they've been pretty good, other than the starting pitching, obviously. But offensively, it's the one thing that they've been able to do is steal bases. Other than that, everything, like, fundamentally about this team has been broken under Derek Shelton. I don't see it getting better. And while I think that, like, you could convince me to move on from everybody top to bottom in terms of this management team, I think it's going to end up starting with him. I see him being the first domino to fall if they're going to start, like, cleaning shop. Derek Shelton and then Ben Cherington. I don't know if you feel it'd be the same way in terms of what that domino effect would be, but I think they would look for a new manager before they look for a new GM.
I agree with you. I honestly thought that was going to be coming after last offseason. But I do think that if they did make the decision this season, especially if it was midseason, you would see the manager go before you see the GM, even though I wonder at what point is that going to take? Like, how bad does it need to get before that decision has been made? And we've talked about this, not just with the Pirates, but like comparing it to like the Penguins. And it was kind of a similar situation that we talked about prior. If you want to look at the Penguins and their performance and Mike Sullivan, whether you thought he should be fired from the Penguins or not, that's neither here nor there, but just similar discussion. Like, how bad does it need to actually get before the Pirates are willing to make a decision like that? Because I feel like without anything else, We know the Pirates are cheap, and we know the Pirates are not going to want to pay a manager that is not coaching their ball club. And I just don't think that in mid-season,
we don't even know what his contract is, though.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But just knowing how the Pirates operate, I just feel like in-season firing is going to take a heck of a lot to move on from Derek Shelton. And
Sure.
that's the sad part of it all, is I feel like it shouldn't take as much as it's going to need to get to that point.
Based off this first week, didn't you kind of get the feeling like, I don't know, sitting watching those games, I'm somebody that rarely likes to question the effort of players. I'm not even seeing the buy-in from guys right now. Like, I feel like they're like, and this is at the beginning of the year. Just imagine when we get to the dog days, if this team isn't competitive. And right now, like, it's kind of hard. It's pretty easy to talk yourself into this being a very short season in terms of meaningful baseball as we sit here right now. Imagine the effort level you're going to be getting in like August.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you said like the competitiveness, but also you said mentioned before, like that they are, they don't play baseball well. Like you mentioned the fundamentals and how they're not doing them at a high level. This is a major league baseball team who should be playing at the highest of level, but compared to their peers, they just do not play the game of baseball that well. And I feel like more often than not, when it comes to the fundamentals that your players are doing, sure, execution could be one thing, but if it's a team-wide thing, you got to look to the management. You got to look to the coaching staff. And I that's why I just really question, what is the breaking point for this team? We're a week into the 2025 season. We're already talking about what's the breaking point where they're going to get rid of Derek Shelton. And I wonder what the breaking point is to even go past that. Obviously, he would be the first domino to fall. But what's the breaking point for the Pirates to get rid of Ben Cherington as well and basically rip clean of this regime and bring in a brand new one? Because that's might be what it takes to get a winning ball club under Paul Skeens while he is still going to be a Pirate. And you have to capitalize on that window. If you have a running clock right now, and if anybody knows how this thing works, you have a running clock on basically the next 4 years of Paul Skeens, because they're probably going to trade him with 1 year of control left. So you have a 4-year window to try to compete while he is going to be on the Pirates roster. And I don't think that it's worth the Pirates waiting around and sitting on Ben Cherington and Derek Shelton to figure it out when you could try to bring in somebody new to figure that out, because everything that we've seen since they brought Ben Cherington in is that he cannot produce a winning baseball team. And everything we've seen from Derek Shelton is he's not a winning baseball manager.
Yeah, he can't maximize the play. Well, the players aren't very good. He's not getting the most out of them either. And I don't know what this is, probably not a Derek Shelton thing, but like organizationally, whatever they're doing in terms of finding a position for a guy. I think it's good to have guys that are versatile, but like IKF at shortstop to me is a disaster. Like, I think that I credit to him. And it's not like he's having an error every game or anything like that, but he's just so limited there because of the arm. Andy Rodriguez they didn't have him playing first base in spring, and then he opens up as their first baseman during like, what do we do? Oneil Cruz in center field. Like, and by the way, I actually want to go back to Oneil Cruz because I was talking about IKF offensively. Oneil Cruz has been very good offensively. The reason that I singled out IKF there was just because I think he's been above expectation. But Oneil Cruz this year so far, batting .261, 400 on base percentage though, a .522 slugging, .922 OPS. Again, already he's drawn 6 walks to just 7 strikeouts for him. You take that pretty much 1-to-1 ratio for sure. And then he's stolen 6 bases already so far this year. So he's been, the one difference maker for them. He's been a game changer. What's going on, everybody? Smitty from Around the 412, and I just want to take a quick second to give a shout out to our folks at Game Changers. Their logo on the screen right now, right above my microphone. Over 2,000 different designs in their catalog. Luxury heavyweight material. I am wearing one of their shirts right now. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Head over to gamechanger.la or pick6.la to pick up some shirts. And guess what? Use code AT412. Save yourself $10 on your order every single time. Again, gamechanger.la or pick6.la. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Check them out. I should have said he's playing like a game changer because, again, this team has 2 wins this year. So he's not really changing the game with just his performance. But yeah, that's kind of where things have been for them offensively. And, again, from a fundamental standpoint, that is carried over defensively. And I don't know whose call it is in terms of ultimately, it's probably a collective effort and a lot of voices going into where guys are going to play defensively. But it just seems like there's been a lot of missteps there. The team defense, not very good. You got like an all-world defender in T. Brian Hayes and Jared Triola, who can play a bunch of spots. And then beyond that, it's like below average at best fielding.
Well, you have a bunch of guys that are playing out of position. I want to know if there's any other team in the MLB that fields as many players that the Pirates do that are playing out of their natural positions. Because like Endy playing at first, IKF, not that shortstop isn't his natural position, that he's just not very good at defending shortstop, so I'm kind of throwing him in there. But Oneil Cruz in center field, like there are a third of your lineup that I just named should not be in the position that they are on the field. And I don't know that you have another team that is fielding teams like that. So if they're poor defensively, that's going to be your reasoning as to why. And whenever you don't have the bats from the entire lineup to back it up, what they're giving defensively, that makes me question what Derek Shelton and this team is doing even more. Like, why did we move Oneil Cruz to center field? Why do we continue to have IKF at shortstop? It just doesn't really make sense to me.
Let's talk about the pitching then. That standpoint of things. Obviously, we talked about the bullpen, but specifically the starting pitching and what they've gotten off to this year. Paul Skeens just made his second start. He's the only one that's made multiple starts, obviously. We just had the MLB debut last night of Thomas Harrington. Didn't go well for him. I mean, good to see him come up here and get his feet wet. And also, I mean, tough situation to be thrown into, not only just in terms of like, I don't know if you always got to be ready, but like this early in the season expected to make that start, get the call up, and then have to play in that ballpark, like a minor league stadium that's used for spring training or whatever. So tough situation for him, but he gave up 6 earned. Beyond that, I mean, and Mlodzinski, we don't consider him somebody that's going to be part of the rotation long term. He didn't have a great outing. Beyond that, they've gotten really good starts from Bailey Falter, Andrew Heaney, Mitch Keller, and both Paul Skeens starts. So Sans Jared Jones, first week so far, I'm completely fine with what they've gotten from the starting pitching.
Yeah, me too. And that's the strength of this team, right? That's what we've talked about. Going back to this spring training, is that this team was going to be carried by their starting pitching. If they were going to go anywhere this season in postseason contention, if they were going to compete, it would start with their starting pitching. They have a really good rotation. And if you want to count kind of what you gotten from Thomas Harrington and Carmelo Mlodzinski, let's just act like those two are your 5th starter right now with Jared Jones being out. What you've gotten from Skeens, Falter, Haney, and Keller should be well above the threshold of what it takes for this team to get wins. It's just the rest of the team around them that's not doing it. I
mean, Falter gave up 2. Heaney gave up 1. Keller gave up 1. Skeens gave up 1 today. And how many was it 2?
2 in the first.
So he's given up, yeah, 3 runs.
But they were winning when he left that game in the opening day.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, the starting pitching has been very good. Again, it's the back end of the bullpen. I mean, if you look at the middle part, now Tim Meza has not, he's got like 2 whip. He's walking a ton of guys, but like Justin Lawrence got unlucky giving up the run he gave up. I think his stuff's so good. I think he's really going to be an asset for that bullpen, and they can lean on him. Maybe sans David Bednar. Maybe he's a guy that you throw into a larger role. I think he had 13 saves in Colorado, whatever year that he was closing for them. Dennis Santana, I think, is going to be effective. Ryan Barucki, I thought, has looked awesome. We'll see if Shelton ever strays away from trying to use him as like a lefty specialist or just getting the other team to make a move and switch sides or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think that they have enough arms to be able to be effective within the bullpen, even if you're not getting the performance of Bednar and Holderman. But my question, again, going back to the management thing, is like, does Shelton have the stones to do that? Like, if you know that those two aren't going to be effective, we saw it, I feel like, a little bit, not only because Bednar being optioned, but in today's game, time of recording this, was willing to go to Ryan Barucki in favor of Colin Holderman to get the last batter in the 8th inning. So maybe that's a little bit of a turning of the tide in terms of Shelton's bullpen usage, because I think it's going to have to be that way. We'll see if, another one of my predictions come true. If we can get Kyle Nicholas up here and be effective, that would certainly help. I just asked you before we started recording about, when do we think we're going to see Dario Moreta? He would obviously be a welcome addition to the bullpen whenever that comes. So I don't know. If we could get Ben Sherrington's ability to put together starting pitching with Neil Huntington's bullpen, then we'd really be cooking. I don't know where you get the offense from, but you at least would have all the pitching you need.
Well, their offense is obviously going to come from 37 and 38-year-olds because that's what they signed. Actually, speaking of a 38-year-old, I feel like they haven't been playing Kutch enough.
3 straight games without him. Well,
3 straight games
that's
without
why
him.
I mentioned
only 12 at bats on the season.
Yeah,
I don't think that he's seen the games enough, and considering that he is like, even as a 38-year-old, if you're going to get offense, at least more consistent offense, it may not be like the highs and lows that you get from some of these other players, but last year, I think that if you just looked at basically like on base percentage and OPS, Kutch was like your third or fourth best bat on the team still as a 37-year-old. He's still probably going to be about the same as a 38-year-old. I don't know why they're not playing him enough. 3 straight games without him, it doesn't really make sense to me.
So yeah, he's healthy. Noah Hiles, who I've just realized, like, never been on the show. We'd have to get him on here to talk Pirates sometime. But he asked Shelton like point blank about Kutch's health, and he's fine. I guess Brian Reynolds is dealing with some tricep issue, like some tricep soreness or whatever. But so he's DHing and not playing the field. Interesting to me that he's still like hitting, even with dealing with tricep tightness, but he's just not fielding. But that is why Kutch has not played, is because Brian Reynolds has been the DH.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I get it. That's awesome.
I feel like he probably could have played outfield in this ballpark they just played in against the Rays, though. Like, if you had to have Kutch in a game in the outfield, he probably could have played out there.
Yeah, that's true. Well, now that they're going home, he's definitely not going to see the field. I wonder what is the outfield
day off.
Like? They plan on having Tommy Pham in left field, and then would they put Sawinski in center field if they're going to keep
Cruz?
Oh, Cruz. I forgot Cruz. Yeah. I forgot that he was out there.
Yeah.
Sawinski in right field then.
I mean, is one day off going to help Reynolds enough? Like, I feel like Kutch is going to be in the line. He's got to be. I imagine. I'm going to say.
Is that a fireable offense if he's not? Kutch in a home opener?
I'm going to say it's going to be Pham, Cruz, Reynolds as the outfield.
Okay.
For the home opener. I don't know who's pitching for the Yankees in that game. Because I would probably have Sawinski over Pham, but
I mean, I'd have Sawinski over Pham right now, no matter what.
Oh, it's a lefty. It's definitely Max Fried. Yeah, it's gonna be Pham for sure.
Okay.
And honestly, that might be the excuse to not play Reynolds.
That might be.
He's a switch hitter, but going against a left-handed pitcher and switching him around to the right side, he's not as effective. Still probably their second best hitter, but
I mean, yeah. I don't know. This team's got a lot of problems. This team's got a lot of problems, but I mean, I just wanted to mention what you were talking about with the bullpen. I do think the bullpen has some decent arms, and I think that, like I mentioned before, that it's being overshadowed by the bad that you've gotten from Holderman and what you've gotten from Bednar. And I think that if they were able to figure it out, the pitching on this team, not just the bullpen, but like the starting pitching as well, the pitching on this team is good enough to get them to what our win totals were. If we want to full circle back to how we started this show. We mentioned how after 1 week that we need to readjust our win totals for the season. You had 82 wins, I had 83 wins, thinking that they were going to take a step forward. I think that from the individual arm standpoint, this team has the arms to be able to get to that point. It's just is the fielding and the bats going to be able to back that up? And are they going to, like you mentioned, does Derek Shelton, does he have the stones to be able to make some of those pitching decisions? Like taking Bednar, who's been your, closer, high leverage situation, whatever you want to call him. He has been that guy for you for 3+ seasons now. Is he going to have that to take it away when I know he just got optioned, but I'm just talking long-term season. Is he going to take that away if he really needs to? So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. It's a long season ahead, but after 1 week, the Pirates are probably about where a lot of us expected them to be, and it just looks a lot like 2024.
Yeah, but now they playing the Yankees, which you almost feel like
the Yankees. When do we see the Pirates get the what are they calling it?
Torpedo bats.
Torpedo bat.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. They should. I mean, any way that the Pirate obviously what you're doing right now isn't working offensively. Like, why not give it a shot if it's legal? I don't understand. Is it like a comfort thing? Like, is it not comfortable for whatever reason? Like, it's not at the handle of the bat where it's the part where it's in the player's hands any bigger or anything like that. I don't know. I don't know how it would impact hitters negatively, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, I don't get the point in not.
Yeah. It is interesting to me because I feel like this came out of nowhere, unless I'm just someone that didn't pay attention in the winter and this was talked about. I just feel like it came out of nowhere. And
what's funny because the dude's not even with the Yankees anymore. That developed he's with the Marlins.
Really?
Yeah.
They just got it approved, and I didn't know that you could just change the bat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that anybody knew that.
Nope. News to me. When it happened, it was like the Yankees I was like, what do you mean they made their own bats? I was like, what? I just thought everybody had the same.
They look kind of like a softball bat to me, like how narrow they are.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how much I think the league's gonna love it. That like pitchers are gonna hate it probably. You're gonna see the offense go up, which is why I think the league will love it. And the casual fan, which I am, will love it. More runs.
Imagine this if this happened. Like, what year was that? 2019, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
I forget which year were they juicing the balls. They were wounding them tighter.
I think
2019. Imagine the torpedo bats with the juice balls.
I think it was either 18 or 19 actually, because the reason that I know it was more within that time frame was because that's like when we were going to Altoona and stuff like that, and we were talking to Jared and Bly and trying to see if there was any difference down there, and I was asking Jeff about spring training, how different it was, and yeah.
Throwbacks, if you guys remember those episodes.
Speak to the Yankees. Not in the major leagues, but that's where Jeff is now. That's the organization he's in. It's the Yankees. So
also, speaking of old episodes with former Pirates players, Shane Baz is who beat the Pirates today.
Dude.
Or yesterday. Excuse me.
2 days ago by the time people are watching this.
2 days ago by the time listening in. But yesterday as in Wednesday, which is when we're recording it. Tuesday's game, Shane Baz. First ever interview on Around the 412 back in June of 2018.
Trust the Bucking process was already a thing, but like we had made the shirts, but like wasn't really catching on. He was the first player to rock one of the shirts, and then it caught fire within the system. Like 30, 40 guys in the organization wearing those shirts at the time, and I don't think he was trusting the Bucking process.
Then the system caught fire.
And now look at him. And now look at him. 11 punch outs against the Pirates. So yeah, there was a part of me that was watching that was like, good for Shane. Obviously nothing but love for him, helped us out tremendously and really kickstarted something special for us. So pretty cool moment. Not sure how I feel about the facial hair, because it's like his hair is so light. It's kind of weird, the facial hair, but like anybody that has like super light hair like that, their facial hair just looks odd to me.
Oh yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. Like the blonde mustache, it kind of looks like, obviously he's not albino, but that's what I would expect the facial hair from like an albino person to look like.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyways, we're straying way off the course in terms of Pirates baseball. So yeah, 2-5, and it looks pretty daunting.
The team. So I mean, why do we have to stay on topic?
Pretty daunting task ahead of them this upcoming weekend. If you are going to the home opener, hope that you enjoy it. I am fully committed to not paying for any Pirates tickets this year. I'm sticking to it. So I'm sure I'll end up going to a couple games, but it will not be on my dime. So I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. I think we covered a lot of things in about a half hour, which is that's a little time I like to get it done by. So
Yeah.
half-hour episodes sound good to me.
Need to get another promo in
Any
here.
closing thoughts?
You're just you're saying that you're going to cut the Pirates tickets out of your financial situation.
Smitty from around the 412 here. And while I may not have much hair, the hair that I do have will not be cut by anybody besides Keek at Keek's Barbershop. My friend Christian Circle, been with us since day one. Keek's Barbershop, located 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Download the app, The Cut. Book an appointment with Christian today, or you can do walk-in with Tony or Ashley. But again, Keek's Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Go check them out. Old school vibe in there. Absolutely love it. Cannot recommend them enough. Wouldn't go anywhere else. Maybe I'll see you there.
Good stuff. I will not be there this Saturday. I'll be there the following Saturday, though, at Keek's Barbershop. So, yeah, go check him out. And, yeah, I think that's it. So, right above Tyler right now, last sponsor that I want to tell you guys about, before, obviously, the one you guys watch and listen to this, we got to talk about what's in the description here in a second. But first and foremost, God, what am I saying? First and foremost,
On this one.
Marcelo Electric. What a great logo. Kind of ties in with our color scheme as well. Our friend Brandon Marcelo, aka Boots, his small business serving Beaver, Allegheny, Lawrence, and Butler County. The link down below to his Facebook page, but you can contact him 724-614-0611. Again, 724-614-0611. Go to the Facebook page down below. You see some great stuff. Great pictures of his work. He actually just posted one today about some wild looking chandelier thing that he did in somebody's house. So again, a lot of your electrical needs he can take care of. I just bought a house. I'm sure he'll be in here in the very near future. If you also did and you need boots, hit him up. Again, link down below in the description, as well as Game Changers. Save yourself $10 using code AT412 at checkout. There's like 6 different Pirates designs you can get on there right now. Paul Steens and Roberto, probably the only 2 worth mentioning at this point. Actually, I'm wearing the Roberto one right now, so shout out to Monday. So just save yourself $10 using code AT412. Also, a bunch of new designs, though, just recently put on there. So pretty soon it's going to be 5,000 designs, but my ad that I read still just say 2,000. So definitely going to have to re-record that in the very near future. What else we got down below there? Everything Custom Designs. Our friend Haley Wagner, small business. Didn't tell you about her yet. Now I'm telling you about her. Go to her Facebook page. Get yourself some of our merch, T-shirts, hoodies, long sleeves, glass tumblers, or your merch, whatever you want. She can do that for you as well. So check that out. And then all of our platforms as well on our link tree down below. So follow us on everything at Around the 412. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, or leave us a 5-star review and subscribe if you were listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from. You'll find us everywhere. Just search Around the 412. For Smitty, for Tyler, this has been the Around the 412 Pirate Show. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.